You don't have to tell everyone your next step. Not because it's a secret, but because it's sacred. Every time you explain your plans to someone, you give away a little bit of energy. You think you're just sharing, just updating. But what you're really doing is handing over something fragile before it's ready. Something still growing, still forming. Your vision is a seed, and a seed doesn't grow faster because people clap for it. It grows when it's protected, when it's hidden, when it's left alone to dig roots before anyone even knows it exists. You might feel proud when you talk about your goals. You might feel excited when someone says, "That's amazing, good for you." But that rush you feel, that little shot of confidence, it comes too early. It's like getting a standing ovation before you've walked on stage. And once you feel that applause, your hunger fades. You think you've already done something, when in reality, nothing has happened yet. The work hasn't begun. Talking makes you feel like you're making progress, but real progress doesn't need noise. It doesn't need an audience. It needs discipline. It needs focus. And both of those things grow best in silence. When you share your dream too soon, you open the door to things that don't help. Doubt, criticism, comparison. Someone might ask, "Are you sure that's realistic?" And just like that, a seed of uncertainty gets planted in your mind, not because your dream was wrong, but because you gave it to someone who wasn't ready to carry it. Some people don't know how to support you, some don't care, and some, even if they won't say it, would rather see you stay the same because your growth makes them uncomfortable. That's why silence is strength, not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting your power. Imagine this. You decide to start running every morning. You tell your friends. You post it online. People cheer. Some don't respond. A few make jokes. Now every day when you get up to run, you're not just thinking about running, you're thinking about what they said. You're wondering who's watching. You're wondering if you're doing enough. You've made your private goal a public event. And that pressure, it can crush your progress. Now imagine something else. You don't say a word. You set your alarm. You run. You come back. Day after day, quietly. No one sees. No one claps. And then one day, someone notices something different about you. They ask, "What changed?" You don't need to explain. The change speaks for itself. That's real growth. Quiet, steady, undeniable. You don't need everyone to know what you're working on. You don't need to prove anything to anyone because your journey isn't for them. It's for you. Their opinions won't build your future. Their approval won't finish the work. Their applause won't carry you through when things get hard. Only your action will. Only your discipline will. And discipline doesn't like distractions. When too many people know your every move, you begin to shape your life around what they expect instead of what you actually want. You try to meet their ideas instead of following your own voice. You start performing instead of progressing, and slowly you forget why you started. But when you move in silence, your path stays clear. Your mind stays focused. You're not thinking about who's watching. You're thinking about what matters. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your dreams, not because they're bad people, but because your dream is not built for discussion. It's built for action. It needs stillness. It needs space. It needs your full attention. So when the urge comes to post your plan, to talk about your goals, to announce your next move, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this for progress or for praise? Because real builders don't need to speak. They just build. You don't need a crowd to keep going. You don't need someone to clap every time you take a step. You need to keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Keep holding the vision, even when no one knows what you're doing. And when it's ready, when the work is done, when the dream has become real, you won't have to say a word. People will see it, they'll feel it, and they'll know. Because the most powerful message is not spoken, it's lived. You don't owe anyone an explanation, not for your pace, not for your vision, not for your silence. People may ask, "What are you working on?" or "What's next for you?" And the pressure builds to say something, to prove you're doing something meaningful. But here's what most don't understand. The best work grows quietly. The most important transformations happen without an audience. And sometimes the more silent your process, the more sacred it becomes. When you stay quiet, you keep your energy inside. You don't let it leak into opinions, doubts, or outside expectations. You preserve it. You direct it. You let it build pressure, and that pressure turns into momentum, into action, into results. You might think silence means you're not being brave, that maybe you're hiding. But hiding and protecting are not the same. A fire needs to be guarded from wind when it's small. A plant needs shade before it can stand the sun. You don't build a house with the front door open and strangers walking through. You build it in stages, and only when it's ready do you let others in. That's what your growth is like. It needs space, privacy, time. Some people think silence is weakness because it doesn't announce itself. But silence, when chosen with intention, is power. It means you're not looking for approval. It means your compass is internal. It means you're not distracted by noise, and that makes you dangerous in the best way. The world is loud. People talk constantly about what they're going to do. They announce goals before they've even begun. They build expectations, not systems. And when the motivation fades, so does the action. But not you. You don't speak to feel accomplished. You work. You build, you commit, and that's why your results will outlast the noise. If you've ever started something and failed to finish it, ask yourself, was it because you weren't serious or because you spent too much time talking about it? Every time you share a dream too early, it gets shaped by the people who hear it, and most of them don't see what you see. They weren't given your vision. They don't carry your fire, so their feedback, even when it's meant kindly, can steer you away from the path. Sometimes a single question like, "Are you sure?" is enough to make you pause. Sometimes a joke, a raised eyebrow, a moment of silence after you speak, it sinks into your mind like a stone in still water. It stays, it echoes, and you don't even realize it, but you slow down, you hesitate, you doubt, you lose momentum, not because your dream wasn't possible, but because you gave it away before it was strong enough to stand on its own. So you need to protect your idea like it's gold. You don't carry treasure through a crowd and announce what's in your hands. You guard it, you keep it safe. You don't tell people your path, you walk it, and when they see where it leads, they'll understand. You don't need to be loud to be effective. You don't need to explain every step to prove that you're making progress. Most of the world is too distracted to truly understand what you're doing anyway, and that's okay, because your dream is not for everyone, it's for you. Your change is not meant to be performed, it's meant to be lived. The stronger you get in private, the more unshakable you become in public. The more you work in silence, the louder your results will be, and when you reach that place, the one you've been working toward, people will ask, "How did you do it?" But by then the answer will already be clear. It will be in your actions, in your results, in your quiet transformation that needed no introduction. Let them wonder, let them guess, let them talk. But you build every day, quietly, with fire in your heart and focus in your steps, because real progress doesn't shout, it moves, and by the time they hear it, it's already too late to stop. You don't need to perform your progress like a show. You're not on stage. You're not here to impress anyone. You're here to evolve. And real growth doesn't crave attention. It craves consistency. There's a kind of freedom that only comes when you stop trying to be seen, when you stop checking if people are watching, when you stop wondering what they think. That freedom gives you back your time, your mind, your focus, because all the energy you once spent on explaining yourself, you now spend on building yourself. And that's where real transformation begins. There's a quiet strength in not needing to announce every little improvement, in letting the change happen deep beneath the surface where no one can touch it. The roots you grow in silence are the ones that hold you steady when the storm comes. But if you speak too soon, if you expose the process before it's solid, you risk everything. You risk the dream collapsing under the weight of too many opinions, too many distractions, too much noise. Have you ever told someone your goal and then felt less motivated to do it? That's because your mind rewards you too early. It gives you a sense of pride for just saying the thing, even though nothing has changed. You feel accomplished before the work has even started, and that fake feeling of progress steals the urgency to take real steps. You must be honest with yourself. Do you want growth or attention? Do you want results or recognition? Because they don't always come together. One path is loud, full of excitement, likes, comments, performance. The other is quiet. It's slow, it's private, but it's also where real change happens, the kind that can't be undone. That's why your silence is not just a lack of noise, it's a presence of power. It's a decision to focus, to protect, to honor the process instead of putting it on display. There will always be people who want to know what you're doing, not because they care, but because they want to compare. They want to measure their progress against yours. Or worse, they want to find ways to make you doubt yourself. And sometimes they don't even realize they're doing it. But that doubt they throw your way, it lands, it sticks. And if you're not careful, it can pull you away from the very thing you were meant to do. So stay silent, not to hide, but to protect your future from being shaped by voices that were never meant to guide it. You don't owe your progress to anyone. You don't need to post it, explain it, or prove it before it's ready. You don't need the world to watch you build. You need to build. That's it. The results will speak when the time comes, and when they do, there will be no confusion, no debates, no questions, just clarity. Because people can argue with your words, but they cannot argue with what they can see, feel, and witness for themselves. Let them see it when it's done. Let your success speak when it's too late to stop. Let the work be louder than the words ever could be. And until then, say nothing. Just keep moving. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they speak more than they act. They describe instead of build. They share the plan but never take the step. They confuse talking about it with doing it. And they feel satisfied just by saying, "I will," not realizing that those words come with a cost. Every time you say what you're going to do before you've done it, you create an image in your mind, and that image feels good. It gives you a hit of satisfaction, but your brain starts to believe you've already made progress, even though nothing real has happened. That's the trap. You say, "I'm going to start that business." You say, "I'm going to lose the weight." You say, "I'm finally going to get serious." But you've only imagined it. You haven't actually moved. And by the time you sit down to begin, the hunger is already gone, because you fed it with a fantasy. That's why your mouth can become the enemy of your mission. Not because speaking is wrong, but because speaking too soon can make the journey feel complete when it hasn't even started. That's how great plans die. They die in conversation. They die in overexposure. They die in rooms full of people who nod but never understand, who listen but don't believe, who smile but secretly hope you fall behind. Not everyone who asks about your dream deserves an answer. Not every space is a safe place for your future. Not every "how's it going" comes from love. Sometimes it's just curiosity. Sometimes it's control. Sometimes it's their insecurity disguised as interest. And the truth is, if you listen too long to people who haven't built anything themselves, you'll start to question what you're building. They'll say, "Be careful." They'll say, "What if it doesn't work?" They'll say, "That sounds risky." And they'll wrap their fear in good intentions. But fear, no matter how kindly spoken, is still fear. And if you're not grounded, if you haven't protected the roots of your purpose, their fear will grow inside you. It will take root. It will wrap itself around your confidence. And slowly, without even realizing it, you'll start to shrink. That's why your dream needs silence. Because silence protects your fire from cold voices. Because silence guards your roots while they grow. Because silence creates space where your actions, not their opinions, set the course. You're not here to be understood in every season. You're here to become unshakable in your own. And sometimes the most powerful step you can take is the one no one knows about. The early morning decision, the late night work, the effort that earns no applause, no likes, no recognition. Just quiet progress, real discipline, inner proof. That's what builds the kind of success that doesn't need to be explained. It just shows up. Fully formed, undeniable. So next time someone asks you, "What are you working on?" smile, nod, and say, "Just staying focused," because that's all they need to know, because this isn't their journey, it's yours. And one day they'll see exactly what you've been building, not through your updates, but through your results. And when they ask how you did it, your silence will say it all. There's something sacred about the work no one sees, the kind of effort that doesn't need to be posted or praised. The kind of growth that happens behind closed doors, in quiet hours, when nobody's watching and nobody's clapping. That kind of growth is real. It's rooted. It lasts. Because you didn't build it for attention. You didn't build it to be seen. You built it because something deep inside of you demanded more. Because your soul whispered, "It's time." And you listened. Not with words, but with action. You see, there's a reason people who rise without noise are the ones who rise the highest. They're not burdened by expectation. They're not trying to fit into the image they once described. They're free, free to grow, free to fail, free to evolve without an audience measuring every move. Because when you talk too early, you lock yourself into a version that may not fit tomorrow. You say, I'm going to be this, and now you feel pressure to stay that. You stop adjusting, even when your heart changes. You keep walking a path just because you said you would, even though it no longer feels right. But growth needs space. It needs movement. It needs the freedom to become something unexpected. And that kind of freedom only lives in silence. That's why your best work often looks invisible to the world, until suddenly it isn't. Until one day, everything you've been building in the dark blooms into the light, and people ask, where did that come from? They don't understand. Because they didn't see the hours, they didn't feel the weight. They weren't there for the discipline, the sacrifice, the doubts you had to silence on your own. And that's okay. They weren't supposed to see the process. They were only meant to witness the result. Not because you're hiding, but because what you're creating is too important to perform. Because not every step deserves an audience. Not every plan needs a preview. Some things are too holy to put on display. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you wise. It means you understand the value of momentum that builds quietly, of hunger that isn't fed by compliments, of character that grows in stillness. It means you're not trying to prove anything to anyone. You're just becoming. And the truth is, when you stop needing to be seen, you finally get the chance to see yourself, clearly, fully, without the noise of everyone else's expectations. That's when you realize what really matters. Not who sees you working, but who you become because you never stopped. Some people won't understand why you've gone quiet, why you're no longer sharing every update, every idea, every plan. They'll wonder if something's wrong. They'll ask why you're being distant. They'll mistake your silence for weakness, for fear, or even failure. But what they don't realize is you're working, not just outwardly, inwardly. Because the real work, it starts inside, before the results, before the proof, before the world notices anything has changed. You're not running away, you're turning inward. And from that place your actions become deliberate, your thoughts become sharper, your direction becomes clear. When you're quiet, you stop wasting energy explaining. You stop reacting to every opinion. You stop performing progress for people who were never part of the vision. You don't ask, do they approve? You ask, does this align? And that question changes everything. It stops you from chasing attention. It pulls you back into purpose. It reminds you that this path was never about applause. It was about evolution. If you're always broadcasting your growth, you start growing for the audience, not for yourself. You shape your journey to match their expectations. You rush the process so you have something to post. You hide your struggles so you can keep up the image. But growth, real growth, isn't pretty. It's not polished. It's not a straight line. It's messy. It's private. It's personal. It's the breakdown before the breakthrough. It's the silence before the shift. It's the tears, the setbacks, the lonely nights where you ask, am I doing the right thing? That's not meant for the world to see. That's meant for you to feel. And when you finally rise, not because you told them, but because you became, the victory will carry more weight, because no one handed it to you, no one clapped you there. You earned it in the quiet. Let them wonder where you went. Let them whisper. Let them ask questions. But you, stay steady, stay focused, keep showing up, especially when no one notices, because that's where mastery begins. That's where the strong are separated from the loud. Everyone wants to be seen winning, but few are willing to lose in silence, to grow without guarantee, to trust the process when no one's watching. You're not here to impress them. You're here to outgrow who you were yesterday. You're here to become unshakable with or without an audience. So move in silence, train in silence, heal in silence, build in silence. And when the world finally sees you, let it be because you've arrived, not because you announced you were coming. There's a reason why legends aren't made in the spotlight. They're made in the shadows, in the early mornings when no one's awake, in the late nights when no one's checking in the hours where silence surrounds you and it's just you and the next move. That's where the real transformation happens, not in what people see, but in what they never do. Think about the greatest builders, the quiet masters, the unstoppable forces you admire. They didn't rise by talking. They rose by choosing the hard thing, consistently, without needing praise. They didn't ask for attention. They didn't broadcast their efforts. They just worked, quietly, relentlessly, and when the time was right, they emerged fully formed, not as a surprise, but as proof that discipline done in silence builds the strongest kind of power. That's the power you're building now, because when you choose silence, you choose to trust the process. You stop rushing to show progress. You stop forcing updates to prove you're moving. You let the work breathe. You let it unfold. And most importantly, you let it be real, because some things cannot be rushed. Some things cannot be explained. explained. They have to be lived, felt, endured. Your vision needs that. It needs patience, not performance. And when you stop talking about it, when you stop giving it away to people who can't carry it, you give it room to become strong. Because words make it light, but silence makes it heavy, solid, rooted, and what's rooted doesn't shake when storms come. But when you post your progress too early, when you let everyone in before the work is done, you invite wind into a room that was built for fire, and fire too early exposed burns out. So protect your fire. Let it burn in places no one sees. Let it grow without interruption. Let it transform you from the inside out. Because the truth is, if your hunger depends on other people noticing, it won't last. But if it comes from something deeper, something no one can touch, then nothing can stop it. This is the discipline that sets you apart. Not just doing the work, but doing it when no one's looking. Doing it without applause, without updates, without anyone knowing. Because you're not doing it to be seen. You're doing it to be changed. And real change doesn't need to be declared. It just needs to be done. That's the shift. From needing validation to needing completion. From chasing recognition to chasing results. From performing a dream to living it in full. You start to realize you don't have to prove anything. Not yet. Not ever. Let the result be your proof. Let the final product be your reply. Let your work speak so loudly that your silence becomes your signature. And when they ask where you've been, you'll smile, because the truth is, you never left. You were just building, becoming, beating the noise by mastering the silence. There will come a time when you're tested, not by the world, but by yourself. You'll wake up and wonder if it's worth it. The silence, the discipline, the repetition. You'll feel the pull to post something, to tell someone, to prove you're doing something meaningful. You'll feel the itch to be seen, just for a moment, just to feel that flicker of recognition. That's when you'll have to choose. Do I stay in the fire, or do I step out and show the smoke? Because that's what it is when you talk too soon. Smoke. Not the flame, not the heat. Just a trace of what could have been, offered to the world before it was ready to ignite. And every time you do that, every time you give in to that pull, you lose something. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not in a way that's easy to see. But slowly, your clarity fades. Your hunger dulls. Your edge softens. Because now it's about performance again. Now you're being watched. Now it matters what they think. And that weight, that pressure, it doesn't help you move. It slows you down. But if you stay still, not in action, but in spirit, if you keep your energy to yourself, if you let your effort remain unseen, you keep your edge, you protect your hunger. You see, people think growth looks like action, but most of it looks like waiting, like trusting, like holding the line when no one's cheering, like staying faithful to the process when the results aren't visible yet. The world doesn't train you for that. It trains you for visibility. It rewards quick updates and fast wins. It teaches you to speak progress before you've lived it. But you're not here to fit into that rhythm. You're here to move deeper, to build something with weight, with soul, with strength that cannot be shaken by a lack of likes or a slow day. That's why you hold it close, not out of fear, but out of respect. Your dream is not a product to be sold early. It's a commitment, a calling, a covenant between who you are and who you're becoming. So guard it, nurture it, feed it with action, not with attention. And when the time is right, you won't have to tell anyone. They'll feel it in the way you speak, in the way you show up, in the quiet power behind your presence. Because by then, your results will have become impossible to ignore.